I mean, I was there. I'm a bit older than you, but
Bit older?
definitely a bit older. But I'm six months. That's really the sign of good, successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
No one starts at A and winds up at A.
I was like, I don't do admin, you know? So
The snobby nuggets is what I live for. We need new German names if you're going with German
No,
horses.
Zazu is amazing. Like
Zazu is not a German
Zazu
name.
and
I'm sorry.
Samir. Imagine
We have
like
to
the
call
link.
her Angela or something like that. So Samir, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm very glad to have you here.
Very happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm going to start with the elephant in the room because I think we need to just tackle this first,
Yeah.
and we'll go to everything else, which is frankly secondary.
Okay.
We'll have to talk about your hair. I think this is something that's important to me. Now, I'm the only one, to my knowledge, but please correct me if I'm wrong, that actually knows the hair products that you use. And I will take this to my grave. I just want you to know, no one knows about this. You swore me to secrecy.
Yeah.
Is that the secret? Because I want the volume, but I mean, tell me.
So actually, wait, there's actually
I'm obsessed
there's
with the hair.
actually
I love it.
two other people that know about it. One is selling the products from it.
Okay,
and has
fine. That's the one you're buying from.
Yes.
Well, they have to know. I mean, by
They are.
definition.
And the other is, can I say names?
Yeah, you can,
Is
of course.
Rania Al-Khatib. So
Rania knows?
if you see Rania's hair, Rania knows.
Rania knows?
Rania knows. One day she asked me and...
why did I not know this 10 years before?
And I swore to her that you can't tell anyone what it is, and she didn't. I don't think she told anyone, by the way.
Oh,
So
God bless her.
so I
We had
take
Rania on
credit for the way she
podcast.
looks a little bit.
She did have great hair. Now
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
Rania,
that's
if
why.
you're listening
That's
to this,
why.
now we know. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
fabulous anyway, with or without the hair, but that's great.
And
Now-
essentially today I didn't cut my hair because of that, by the way. So
And I'm very grateful. Now, if you had met me 15 years ago, I had like a fro. I feel that product
yeah.
remains unnamed
Yeah.
would have been fantastic.
A fro
me-
meaning like a big
Yeah.
fro.
Imagine me now with like add volume now.
Yeah.
A whole different look. Anyway, we'll move past that. I want to talk a little bit about you. I want to talk a little bit about Montroi, the brands you set up with Enrique. It's a fantastic story. And we'll meander a little bit if you allow me. Let's start with you for a little bit. Give me just a bit of background. You are of Indian descent, grew up in the UK.
Yeah.
So let's go from there. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, how you grew up, what you were interested in.
So my parents were essentially born, were Indian descent, like you mentioned. My parents were born in Kenya.
Okay.
They moved from there to the UK when they were around 10, 11 years
Were
old.
they first generation Indians in Kenya?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And why did they move? Just
They moved because there was a whole
opportunity?
revolution and opportunity and things like this. And I'm Gujarati descent, so they all moved to England at the time. They set up businesses there in London. The whole family was there at the time.
the entire family.
Entire family. We all used to live together in 3 different houses, all conjoined
gosh,
together in North
intense.
London.
And you
Yeah.
have siblings?
I have one sister, one older
sister.
sister.
So
Yeah.
how many,
Yeah.
the tribe, how big was the tribe? Give us a sense when you all moved.
When we all moved,
Roughly in your
So I was
generation.
born in London.
Okay.
So when they all moved, there was probably my dad's 4 brothers, my mother's one of 8. So the whole family,
All of them
So
moved.
yeah. Everyone moved. So the whole family said, after my mother got married, they were all living together. So there was my dad's 4 brothers, my uncles, and then the kids and everything. So we essentially grew up all together.
And what was that like growing up in England? I mean, obviously, especially, I feel like second generation Indians is quite common in the UK and in London, but still because you probably came home to a particular environment and went to school, which was a completely different environment, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about this.
Obviously, growing up with my grandparents and all my uncles and everyone, I never spoke English. So since I was born, we only spoke Gujarati. So it was literally that every single day. My mother even says at the moment she was very worried sending us to school and things because we couldn't speak English. So we'd end up going to some schools. I think I was better. My sister completely useless, didn't understand anything, and then I went to a school towards Cambridgeshire. My parents moved there essentially for a while, and I was a day pupil at the school. For me, I didn't know any better because everyone was British, that whole side. I think I was one of maybe 2 Indians in the school.
Did you feel like the odd person out, or was it okay?
I felt different, I think, because obviously it was, the language was different. People didn't understand. At the time, I would be not embarrassed, but a bit shy about the whole situation. My grandfather, for example, would take myself and my sister, my 2 cousins to school every single day.
And you didn't want him to come?
No, he'd come and he couldn't speak much English.
Yeah.
So he would
Yeah.
come, very Indian, just arrive and drive us there. Didn't care about anything. So he'd literally, where you want to be dropped off by like outside and
Yeah,
then you're
yeah,
happy to walk at the time.
yeah,
He would kind of drop us inside and everyone sees, and it's literally like that. So I was a bit like not sure
Yeah,
about the whole
yeah.
thing.
You
And,
felt a bit embarrassed, maybe.
Yeah, but also I used to go to school wearing shorts in winter. Imagine in England. So I'd have shorts, socks every single day until I was like 13.
That's
And then it
mandated
changes.
by the school, or
Yeah, and a cap. It was like this purple blazer, a luminous purple, but you have to wear shorts because
God
in
bless.
British schools, that's the norm until you're 12, 13.
We won't get into that, but that's
Yeah.
weird. So from just hearing it, 'cause I grew up in a fairly homogenous. I
Yeah.
grew up in Cairo, fairly homogenous. So I was in German school.
Yeah.
There was a bit of that,
Yeah.
and I felt the kids did one of two things: either they rebelled against it,
Yeah.
or tried really hard to fit in.
Yeah.
Did you have any of the two experiences?
I didn't know any better. So it was very
Yeah.
much like
A given.
I'm British. I'm almost that Indian side wasn't irrelevant.
coming out.
It wasn't so much there. But then outside of the school, you'd have all the festivals, the Diwalis, and all this, which is very normal to celebrate. But it was almost very segregated.
Yeah, it's like a dual identity.
Yeah, completely. So people didn't really ask because obviously we're so young at this age and no one knows. But then essentially on the weekends and things, you'd end up doing a lot of the festivals, going to different things, the clothes, all of that. But then I obviously would be very shy because I am quite shy. So at the
Yeah.
end, it's inherently that way. But I think I would keep it extremely separate. Only when I went to university was the first time I think where I started meeting a lot of Indian people.
And
The
you
first
studied
time.
what?
I studied economics.
Okay, so
So,
that was probably also a lot of Indians studying
It
economics.
was a lot of Indians. I think the medical side is a lot more,
Yes,
but there
true.
was still a lot of Indians, and I did a year in Copenhagen as well. And obviously, I spoke the language, speak Gujarati more, so that was fine. But then I just remember arriving to Copenhagen. I did this Erasmus thing, and I arrived, and I was so excited to go. I didn't want to go initially. There were 6 people from the whole course going. I arrived to the accommodation in Copenhagen, and I get to the floor. And I remember on the door, I see this. Obviously, everyone's name was there, and the next door to me, I see a name, and it said Alka Kumar, and I think to myself, "Oh God!" Like out of everyone that they could put me next to, they put me next to an Indian person.
Yeah, of
so
course,
I was
but-
literally like thinking, "Oh God!" Like this is my worst nightmare because I had some Indian friends, but in university, you know how it is.
No,
Everyone
100%.
goes in their own kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
groups and things, and I have nothing against it, but I wasn't primarily with Indians.
You weren't part of the kind of Indian clique that just hung on together.
Exactly. So,
Why?
But I think inherently from school because I was
see.
a day pupil. I then started boarding school there, the same place because I didn't want to leave, and I wasn't around only Indians.
Did you befriend Mr. Kumar?
She's one of my closest
Oh,
friends.
she?
And actually, it's interesting because she's Indian Punjabi, but she's born and brought up in Paris.
So
And
there's
it's,
some similarity in some
yeah,
ways.
And actually, she is the one that taught me. I'm Gujarati, so Gujaratis in general don't speak Hindi. And so they speak, but very badly. And she is the one that taught me how to speak better.
That's
She's
so
Punjabi, so they speak a lot more. She was cooking for me, and most bizarre thing. And she's French essentially, so it's very similar to me,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
completely different.
It's just fascinating how these things work. When I was in college, a bit of a similar story. My first day as a freshman, I was in the US.
Yeah,
I met a guy who wound up being one of my closest friends, who was Egyptian American, who grew
Yeah.
up in New Jersey.
yeah,
I'm Egyptian, grew up in Cairo.
yeah,
And we looked at each other and we instantly detested each other.
yeah, yeah.
He looked at me, he's like, there comes this kid from Cairo. And I'm like, this very Americanized kid who
Yeah.
thinks he's Egyptian, his Arabic is poor.
Yeah.
And it was like ultimate
Yeah,
judgment
yeah,
on
yeah,
both
yeah,
sides.
yeah,
But once we became friends,
yeah.
we of course
Another
realized
thing.
you have so many things in common because our parents, in many ways, shared a common culture.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And you start seeing these markers, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that happened to me.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And very few others can relate to that.
Yeah.
If you're we were in the US, there were no Egyptians in my class except for me and this kid.
yeah.
So in some ways, we related much more in certain things that I couldn't explain to
Yeah.
anyone else.
And I hear this a lot that people say if you're not born and brought up in India or outside your home country, you hold on to the values a lot more.
Yeah, that's very
So
true.
a lot of people say this, and I never really thought about it, but it's very true because when I look at now my Indian friends in India, it's almost they almost feel more westernized than
Well,
people outside. in some
Because there's
respect.
no threat of losing
Yeah.
your quote unquote culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So think about those parents that either
Yeah.
immigrate or move somewhere else. They are very keen to indoctrinate their kids with the culture. so they go overboard, or at least very tight. So this kid that I'm talking about, he's not a kid anymore, but my friend, he was, for example, a lot more. I mean, his parents were a lot more strict in terms of religious things, to pray, to fast, because they were worried that he will get subjugated, kind of submerged in American culture. Growing up in Cairo, that's not a risk. Everyone around you does these things. Okay, so you went to university. We survived Copenhagen. We met your friend that cooked for you. And then what happened?
I actually wanted to travel. So my plan was, after I went to Copenhagen, it obviously opened my eyes a lot more in terms of cultures, different people. And even you mentioned about the Indians and this, I met Indians around everywhere, like in terms of Portugal, Spain, like all over the place.
They are everywhere.
And there were so many people of different parts of the world. I came back and in my mind, it was literally like, I just would love to travel. Obviously, in between university, I was traveling a lot more. I went to Thailand. I did like a whole road trip there. But these were by myself, actually, because for me, it was about exploring, seeing different places. And that's kind of what gave me I think Copenhagen was really the push of doing that. Plus, all these people from everywhere. So they'd always say, come and visit us in Thailand, come and visit us in this place. And I thought, like, this would be amazing to just travel. But then I ended up at Deutsche Bank working.
Well, how much? So I want to just, the economics and then the Deutsche Bank, we'll get into that in a second. How much of that you felt, again, just sort of pressure, second generation Indian kid, parents saying, no nonsense, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to, how much of it was that? How much of it I can tell you my experience, because I also studied economics and went into banking, as you know. But how much of it you felt was your choice versus either direct or indirect pressure?
I would, looking at it hindsight now and looking back, I think a lot of it was pressure, because there's some things, obviously the economics, it was largely because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I thought this is a more of a kind of a secure thing to do, to be able to do other things. I knew I'm not going to be a doctor, a dentist in this. It's not what I wanted to do. So that side was okay. But then going to university, seeing all these people, it was almost like they're doing it because they have to do it as well. So that for me was great, because I thought, at least I don't have to do medicine and then be stuck in that kind of place where I don't want to be. And the skills that I would get is very different. I think that was a large part. But I think there was definitely some pressure, for sure. Because obviously my parents, they moved there, they set up their own businesses, they did all that side themselves. So they essentially never worked for anyone.
What business do they have?
They do retail. They did like retail businesses and things. So for them to say, for example, my son is working here, it's almost like
it's a huge badge of honor.
Yeah, and I thought, like, okay, that's great. But then I think even before that, there was a lot of things that they would not make me do, but they would try to force me in that side. Playing golf, for example, like I mentioned before, like, they would my father would make me want to play. I think it's something he wanted to do, but never had time to do. So it almost
projects it on you.
Yeah, you should go and do it. Hated it. Like, I used to literally walk around thinking, what is the, like, how is it even relevant to hit a ball and just chase it? I didn't understand.
I'm not a golf fan.
I couldn't, and I thought, like, I can't do this. I used to sit in the coffee shop and just literally order French fries.
Polo,
and
on the other hand, we'll
crumpets.
get to that in a minute. But polo, on the other hand, maybe
that's different. That part, it would be something that I would like to do, but they didn't really understand. So for them, it was like a great thing to do, but they just didn't realize. Obviously, I tell them now, I'm like, I didn't do anything. What a waste of money. I used to just sit in the coffee shop eating all day.
So you went to Deutsche Bank. Where did you work in Deutsche Bank?
In London and in Dubai.
Yeah, but what group?
On the structured finance side.
Structured finance side. And how many years in total?
9 years in total.
9 years. So Deutsche Bank was on the ascent. I mean, I was there. I'm a bit older than you, but...
bit older?
Definitely a bit older, but I'm 6 months, maybe 6 months. 9 months if you want to be generous. And I remember that time, Deutsche Bank of the time, was up and coming. Obviously, it was a lot of talk about a European bank trying to catch up to the American banks. It was run by an Indian gentleman, very ambitious, right? And they were trying to shed German roots to become the international preeminent investment bank, like the Goldmans and JP Morgans and Morgan Stanleys. How was that experience for you?
It was an experience, 100%. It was a massive, I think, learning curve in terms of the work, obviously. I started in London 2 years, and actually, because I started in London and because I'd kind of joined from Copenhagen directly, I was really in this mood of traveling. So essentially, I didn't want to be there. It was great meeting the people. So obviously, I was just, I connect with people quite well, I think. So I was talking to literally everyone, but the whole time trying to make my way out. And not out of out of the company, but out of
The confines
England.
of the London Deutsche
Yeah,
Bank mood.
it was
right?
because it was obvious that I would come back. I studied in the north of England because I knew I would live in London, and I was from there, and that was obvious for me. So the whole time it was too familiar.
Yeah.
Everything, and this is something I realized even from Copenhagen. I was worried about going, and my sister pushed me into it and told me you must do it because it's whatever, if it doesn't work out, you're always going to come back.
That's very true.
And when I did come back, nothing changed. Friends, people, surroundings, everything was exactly the same. Apart from me, because I'd met so many people, and even seeing the people, it was the same thing.
So after 2 years, you moved to Dubai.
I got an opportunity to Dubai. My friend was trying to make me move to Saudi Arabia actually,
Oh,
and
wow.
I remember
What
at the
year was
time,
this?
2009 and 10, and he was telling me come to Saudi Arabia, but I traveled to Dubai on holidays. So for me, it was, this is more familiar. This is where I'd like to be more. And I thought, I'll do it for a couple of years and then see what happens. And that's what made me move. And then I was pushing and pushing and pushing, and then they just said yes. And at the time, I was quite junior. So they essentially were saying, very unusual.
Because most people didn't want to leave HQ.
No.
I mean, they wanted to
No.
stay. If you were an American bank, you wanted to be in New York. If you were a European bank, you wanted to be in London, right? The satellite offices were not where it was at.
And there was a lot of pushback. And then all of a sudden I met who was my ex-manager. It was based between here. He just moved. And so I relocated. I was lucky enough to relocate with them, which was amazing, and coming here. But obviously the work-wise, it was intense. A lot of things, a lot of politics, and a lot of things to deal with, obviously. Travel-wise, amazing, because it pushed me back to cover a lot of some of Africa and Middle East. So I was going back to Kenya a lot. I was doing a lot of these countries as well, Mozambique, and some of the opportunities I got, amazing. So that was great for sure.
And what was your first impression of Dubai? Now, 2009, 2010.
It was very Indian. I arrived and straight away I'm like, oh my god, so many Indian people around me. But which was good, but it was and different. But I didn't, and it was. It felt like just being in Canary Wharf, but in heat. It was very familiar. For me, it didn't feel any different.
Okay.
I think it's very easy to settle in, so it was great. But the workload was a lot, and it was a massive learning curve because I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a struggle because in London you have so many people around you, and here you're kind of this one person within this 2-person team.
Yeah.
So there's no one really around you to help. No one.
When did the idea of leaving banking and Deutsche Bank and doing something else start coming to your head?
It started more because I was traveling a lot, and whilst I was traveling a lot, we were seeing a lot of places. We were traveling to a lot of places, and we actually started through creation of kind of like city guides. So we'd talk to hotels and we'd talk to different places, and we had a bit of a blog, and so we'd put inside the blog locations, places, things to do.
By we is you and Enrique, your business partner.
Well. Exactly. So
you guys met. Did you meet here in Dubai?
We met in Paris, actually. We met in Dubai
Paris.
During Art Dubai through friends and whatever. And then I would see him in Paris. We had similar friends there.
And then how did you guys decide to start something together?
It was always the same type of looking for those different destinations with experiences and things like that. And that's where it inherently started. And it was always about, some hotels would then approach us saying, can we be inside
but
this?
slow it down. Because I think the co-founder part for me is very important.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting for our listeners as well. Because we talk a lot about businesses that are starting by one person versus two people and the pros and the cons. So you felt there was, obviously, for both of you, there was a connection.
Yeah.
You were able, and a good chemistry as well.
Yeah.
Did you, from the beginning, feel, well, I bring this to the table, Enrique bring this to the table, and we complement each other?
Yeah.
Or was it, no, we're kind of similar and we'll drive it together? Because those dynamics are important.
I think we're very, very different. We're very opposite. I think work, everything, personality.
Which worked.
And then this is, I would say personally that it's maybe he has a different view completely, but I would
We'll
say
ask him
that
later.
I would
Enrique,
say that,
don't tell us if you have a different view, or call me privately. So just that we did. Yeah.
But I would say that we're totally opposite, and actually some of the obvious things that we often, this explains it all for me as well. When you talk, even when we're talking to somebody else and they say, "Oh, Samir must be there. You're so lucky. You have Samir that does all the finance stuff. So he does all the finance and the numbers and all of this."
Because you're ex-Deutsche.
I don't do any of it.
I know.
Zero.
That I know for sure.
I don't.
I was never fooled.
Yeah, I don't. I was like, I don't do admin. You know, so that's what I normally say.
I don't do admin.
I don't, because why? Because he's very kind of like. He's very methodological.
The snobby nuggets is what I live for.
No, I don't. I don't.
That what propels my day forward for me to like smile when I go to bed. But anyway,
No, I see the
continue.
bigger picture. He's
Yeah.
very like detailed.
Yeah.
And I think from his days working in luxury, that whole side,
Yeah.
he's very much about detailed and
Yeah,
those
and
small,
you need
small
both.
things.
And you need
Look,
both.
I'm not saying I'm not. I think I'm very there, but I just go, I go
100%.
for it and I go the other way. So we're very complimenting in that side.
So you guys started this brand, and obviously kind of this nomad idea, nomadism, travel, Silk Road is very much at the root of Montroi,
Yeah.
right? Which is a brand, by the way, I personally love from the beginning, from when you guys were here in D3. And now I mean that. And, huge compliments to both of you. And now we've been carrying it at the Lighthouse for a few years, and it does phenomenally well.
Yeah.
Like it's a brand that really resonates with people. But I want to break it down because I did my research, and there's what you read. I can see how your lifestyle, Enrique's lifestyle, and knowing you both separately, personalities infuse in Montroi. But how to turn that into a successful business venture? How do you? So there's that. Travel, experiences, chic, luxury, great. Now business. So walk me through how you close this gap.
So initially when we started the project, it was really around traveling, city guys, that part. But we knew very quickly that we could have any type of city guys and people would pay us to be inside. And that was kind of what was happening a little bit. People would approach us saying, can we pay to be inside? And we, at the time, both of us were working. So we would say, no, we don't want the money at the time because we want to travel and experience and things, but we don't want the money because essentially the concept of the city guys would disappear. Because at the end, it was the brand and the concept. People would ask us all the time, like, I'm traveling here, where can I go? And so we put together a whole community of friends that work all in different backgrounds, and they would essentially build the city guys for us and with us. And so that's exactly how it happened. They started traveling in different places, saying, I saw this place, I went to this place, it was this place, and it's not the most expensive. It was authentic, different places.
You have an eye, essentially.
So that's how it started. And it was the brand as well. It was never really about us. It was about a community of people, and it still is today. It was about different people in different backgrounds fusing together different ideas and concepts.
But were you confident about your eye? Because that's an important element here. Did you feel like I can tell you from when I started the Lighthouse, we talked about this earlier. I really knew nothing about retail and certainly nothing about F&B. I was pretty confident that I have a good eye to set up an atmosphere that's appealing to people. I had a good sense that my aesthetics can work and probably even commercially translate. But I didn't have much else to go for. Did you feel you had an eye for this kind of stuff?
So I never worked in luxury and that side. Zero. So I don't have any of that experience. My parents were very much in the retail side. So that part of it was quite familiar to me. And I'm not shy around this kind of thing. I always remember the first time we opened here in D3, we did a separate pop-up. And
I remember.
And at the time, we only had leather goods. And the first client that came to buy a leather bag, and it was, I don't know, like 12, 13,000 dirhams, whatever, the most expensive product we had. And Enrique was there, and I was there as well. And we obviously sold the story. The person says, "Oh, I'll take this." And the moment he said, "I'll take this," I'm like, perfect. Swipe the card, like put it in the bag, done. And Enrique just froze. And so I just remember that moment. And he continues to talk. And I'm thinking,
close the deal.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, swipe the card.
That's
swipe
your
the
retail,
card.
that's your retail side.
And he didn't swipe the card, and he didn't know what to do. So he kind of just stood there, and it was diverting the conversation elsewhere. And I'm just thinking, swipe the card and put the bag in the thing. And that was,
so you had that was ingrained in you, right?
Yeah, so
you
for
grew
me
up with that.
It was very normal. For him, it was really not normal.
But this is the interesting thing. So it requires someone like you who has that thought. But you guys set up the stores from the beginning here. I remember when I first walked in, as an experience. So you're selling this experience. What are you selling? Is it an aspirational thing? Is it an aesthetic? Is it both? Is it I want to be Samir? I mean, what are you selling?
Again, the brand was never about us. It's always been about a community of people and experiences and taking different backgrounds and cultures and blending them together. One of the questions also we always get asked is, why Dubai? And it's the same thing. And people, the connotation is, and the perception is very different to actually what people know of
Dubai
here.
makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, but to you, because you lived here and you understand Dubai and the cultures and the people and kind of what happens. but others no. And actually, why I linked Dubai, we started here and we started through leather goods and things. And obviously, we didn't want to monetize through advertisings and all this because it essentially loses the identity of
edge.
the brand.
Yeah.
So then we started meeting whilst we were traveling artisans, crafts, and people that were doing amazing things, but they were trying to support families and communities, but they were not managing to, but they would do something that was amazing. So then we told them, look, we start working with you. Let's see how we can support you. They send the kids to school. They do all this kind of thing. And so that's essentially how everything started. And so we found artisans, craftsmen that make leather goods. We found this group of women
Where?
that hand rolled. That's made between Italy and Spain, everywhere. Italy, Spain, Tunisia. We found the incense is made in Jaipur in India. And this is a group of women that hand roll it together. And
The incense is the best seller.
It's one of the
love
best
it.
sellers,
And I've tried many incense because we get many people coming to us to sell it, and there's no comparison quality.
I laugh because I was very against it. Again, I was like, this is who's going to buy
Indian.
this? I'm
Yeah,
Indian. I'm
yeah,
like, who's going to buy this? Enrique's pushing for it, and I just
Thank
give
you,
up.
Enrique.
Yeah, honestly, no. Thanks to him, it's really thanks to him that he was pushing it.
And
the best
you've
things
also set it up in a way where you have an incense holder or whatever. So the gifting element there is very much part of it, right? You're not just throwing some high quality incense and putting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's the packaging element.
Yes.
Like when you think in our culture, bukhur, there's a way to have bukhur, which can be very high quality, very low quality. And then there are certain places that package it.
Yes.
And that is very much part of the experience.
So just to go back to your question, when we first opened the space, it was all about, it was all about experience. At the time, I was working in the bank and all this, and we were spending a lot of money. We'd literally just be buying all sorts left, right, and center. Even Enrique told me at the time that he had budgets to spend on certain stuff, and what can you keep buying over and over again? So that was also the ethos of the store and the boutique and stuff. It was very much about going into your home, seeing an experience, and not having to enter a place and be forced to buy something, but you always leave with a memory. And so that's why people would come into the stores. They'd always leave with a city guide, whether they bought something or they don't. And then they would always end up coming back to buy something. And that's what we wanted. So that's why when you come into the boutiques and the spaces, it's almost like a home. It doesn't, for us, or it shouldn't feel like a boutique space that you're going into. It should feel experiential. You discover something new.
Experiential.
And it's completely this. And it's all about discovery. It's the same as the city guys and the traveling. You discover places, you discover things. And that was very much inherently what we want to achieve and wanted to achieve from the beginning.
So today you have a BTC, kind of a direct to consumer through your boutiques.
Yeah.
And you're about to open El Circle, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Amazing. Congratulations.
So
I love
we're
El
happy
Circle.
about that. And that will really be the home.
I think it's a great fit.
In Dubai.
It's a great fit for you. And they're doing some great, I was telling you earlier.
There is going to be
Amazing
very
stuff.
experiential. It's going to be a perfumeria with some of the personalization and the leather goods. And then we're going to do a curation of Montroi crafts and artisans across the Silk Route. So we have a mezzanine floor as well, which is going to be around events and tying in those cultures and artisans around the world as well.
Amazing.
So it's going to be an activated space. So again, very experiential.
So you have that business to consumer direct boutique, but you also have learned to do B2B, right?
Yeah.
So you sell directly into some hotel groups, is that right? So what, and that wasn't day one, right?
No.
So walk us through this, because I think this is a very important lesson for entrepreneurs in retail, right?
Yeah.
You have to be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes B2C direct is the only channel, but a lot of times it's not.
Yeah.
What prompted that?
So the brand essentially was built by friends of friends, and everyone that we collaborate with or we work with, we want some kind of relation with them all the time.
Yes.
And it's always meaningful. We never, even from the beginning, we never went to, because easily we could have monetized through advertising and we could have gone down that route.
Yeah, you did.
And we chose not to. So the whole time we do projects, it was never really about just the revenue, but it was also about the experience, about the synergy of certain things. The city guides, for example, we were printing them, we had books and things. We didn't really make any money from this. It wasn't really a money-making thing. It was really the experience.
It's a brand extension.
And that's where also Dubai fits into this quite well, because people always ask us, if you were not in Dubai, would you be where you are now? Or if you did the same thing in London, if you did the same thing in England? I don't think so. And I always look back because it's very close friends of mine here that have done successful kind of interior design and a few things. And I remember being home with them thinking, we want to start this project. How will it do? And the first thing they told us was, like, it's going to be amazing. You're going to do amazingly well. I'm like, how can you say that now? Like, how do you know that it's going to be amazing? And the feedback was like, because people are going to help you along the way. And it's really true. Like,
It is very true.
there's people that you would least expect around you. They help you in many different ways.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful in terms of
And I've
that.
experienced that. But to give you credit, you're also very good at this. I mean, a lot of people I have met, you have introduced me to, you make introductions all the time.
Yeah.
You plug us in when you can. So I think you've also, I mean, it goes both ways. I think you lean in your community, but you also are very generous with, your network. When you feel something is a good fit, you're like,
totally.
oh, Hashem, go speak to X, and vice versa.
No,
And
because
I think
a lot of people have, obviously, a lot of people have helped us. I'm so grateful. Even I mentioned Rania, for example.
Yeah.
I remember I was still working in the bank and I set up a meeting. I didn't even know who Rania was. I met someone in a team at the time in Level Shoes and who told me like, she would love you guys. She would love this. I'm like, who is this lady? I didn't know who she is. She gave us one of the most amazing opportunities I'm so grateful for that I was pushing and pushing and pushing to the point of sending emails. I'm quite persistent. So to the point where she sent me an email saying, I've read your email. I have something in mind. And then she said, ask for a meeting. I couldn't even go to the meeting. So I sent Enrique to the meeting and she gave us this, we had a retail space in Dubai Mall.
Yeah.
I mean, who gets a space in retail with a brand that's so unknown at the time, at the beginning?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people around. I could name so many people along the way that the opportunity wise, it's incredible. And actually and I think it's very much inherent about Dubai in terms of the vision and the opportunity. People are always looking for the future. They're always looking for things that are innovative and different and experiential as well. And that's where the one and only thing, and you mentioned the hotel partnership. We have the big partnership with one and only around Sense and this. And it's just it's incredible in the sense that people will also ask us that question. They say, but how did you get this? How did that work? And it must have just been something you created and you just sold to them. It really wasn't. So Philippe Zuber, who's the CEO of Curzon International and managing the brands, he was at the meeting. So he would be there with us, choosing the Sense. And so the whole experience was
attracted
just
them
incredible.
To you? Did they just find you?
We were discussing with some of the teams in terms of working in terms of experiences and working in terms of social media things and all those related things. And then we proposed to them the idea, saying that maybe we should look at doing something completely different and doing an experience around something linked to the brand, but in a meaningful way. And that's where the scent part came in. But essentially, most people would do one scent and roll it out across everything, like the volume, mass business. Right. We went down the bespoke kind of one scent for each.
But that's, again, true to your brand, right? And true to who you are.
Yeah, completely. And then it's a lot of work and it's completely, essentially a nightmare. It's difficult because we need to work with suppliers. We need to find people that will do this, the cost in samplings and doing all that and timelines and everything. It is difficult, plus the amount of SKUs and stuff. But the story inherently that it tells guests and people is completely different. And we've been blessed in the sense that it's going well. And it's really the client that resonate with us. Like you mentioned earlier, like who is your clientele and those things. It's really the clientele that comes even to the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
It's those people that understand and experience luxury and different things. And it doesn't have to be about products that are crazy expensive.
No, I think that's what people are learning more and more to appreciate. So now the brand is 10 years old?
Yeah, I would say around just less actually, 8-9 years old.
Amazing journey. And where do you spend now most of your time when you think about the future of Montroi and the growth and what you guys are doing? Because you have some boutiques, you have your obviously B2B relationships.
So now we're exploring a lot more in Europe. We obviously sell in locations in Europe. We're looking for our own spaces where we can tell a full experience. Okay. So Paris essentially and in these
spaces. So you want to keep that boutique concept growing?
Yeah, because we do a lot of events, we do these kinds of things. So inherently we need our own space to do that.
But can you scale this part, the events? It's very laborious.
Yeah, we will find locations in each spaces and in each country or whatever to do that.
Okay.
The concept is never really to have a lot of boutique spaces and things. Is to really keep it more unique, experiential.
But serve different communities.
Exactly. And I would love to, and you can, and also showcase those artisans and crafts and people around the world in different places. It's not going to be a copy and paste boutique and space. It's going to be very kind of linked to local roots and things like this as well. So if we do something in Paris, it would be a discovery of something French and something linked to kind of local artisans, crafts, culture, that kind of thing. obviously showcasing the wider brand. But I would love to do things in places in India, in Jaipur, and not necessarily places where it's just high traffic. It's discovery. It's the same as where we first started as well.
And you still travel all
And I
the
still
time.
travel, so
you
I
have
think,
the best Instagram account
but
in the world.
it's
I'm
all-
obsessed with it. Please all
Is that a
follow
plug?
Samir.
Is that a
The
plug to
best
my Instagram?
ever. It's fantastic. I like it. Is like my I take 5 minutes of my day. I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna go and like watch Samir.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're doing, it's fantastic.
No, and people
So-
say, who does this? And I love photography. So my
fabulous.
father actually recently has been coming with me in a lot of places.
But your
because
dad is doing
he's
the
a photographer.
photograph.
He's the guy behind a lot of photos. Yeah, because
Thank you, Dad.
we go around everywhere, and they're retired. They don't do anything at the moment, so I'm kind of bringing
So
them
great because
everywhere.
like you're going into the water, and I'm like, but who is the person that's sitting there so you can get this angle? How does he do it?
My father and
It's
I
your dad.
actually, they came with me last week when I was riding, and he was with his camera taking all the videos and
That's
and the
fantastic.
photos. Yeah. No, they're perfect. They're amazing.
If I had told you 15 years ago, and you're a young banker at Deutsche Bank,
Yeah.
that you would be doing this today, I mean,
Yeah.
did you think of this as a natural journey for you when you left banking and moved into this? Or are you today like, no way I would have expected myself to? Because to me,
Yeah.
knowing you only as Samir Montroi, not Samir
Yeah.
Deutsche Bank,
Yeah.
it feels very natural.
Yeah.
Like you're very much yourself.
Yeah.
But do you feel it was just a natural evolution, or do you
Mm.
feel no, like there was a push?
I think the corporate lifestyle wasn't really
not for you. That I can see.
100% not for me.
But does this today feel like you?
yeah,
To you, it does.
100%. Yes,
Okay.
I love the fact that I'm the owner of my time. Am I working a lot? And does the Instagram show the daily
No, the
lifestyle?
Instagram
No.
shows like somebody who
it-
does
yeah.
absolutely,
Which
I love.
Which I love too.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
which I think
I
is
love
great.
people to think
want
I'm doing
that
nothing.
Instagram, I'm telling you, I just
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
how to do it.
Yeah.
My dad is not alive, but maybe I
Yeah.
have to like ask you if you have an uncle
Yeah.
that would travel with
Yeah,
me.
well, I think so. Why not? Like I love the fact that people think I do nothing. And actually, some days, you know what I do?
I love it too.
I post a picture of a palm tree, and
Yeah.
I'll be like, beach day, and it's like a Monday
Yeah,
or a
it's
Tuesday.
beach day, it's
People will
beach,
think-
and then we're going to talk about this in a minute. But it's horses.
Yeah.
So let's talk about horses.
horses
So how
is,
did the whole horses thing start?
But that's the thing. So whilst I was forced into a golf club when I was younger,
found the horses.
the horses was something I did because neighbors of ours had horses and I used to ride. But my parents didn't. And again, I think it's very much linked to the Indian side that they didn't really
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
that side.
I told you I find that comment incredibly racist, but anyway.
No,
I'm
but
let
it's
it
not
slide.
because they
They're
inherently-
Indians, so of course
for
they
them
wouldn't
it's not
understand the
used to
horses.
No.
Like I don't know
For
what
them,
that
it's
means.
we had dogs and we had pets and things,
Yeah,
but they
they
didn't really
understand dogs
understand
and chickens, but they don't get
Yeah,
horses.
they didn't understand that side. So
Anyway.
I used to go riding, and I remember I found this lady that I was riding her horses, and the daughter had horses, and she had horses for the daughter, and the daughter hated it. It wouldn't do anything. So obviously, I'd go. I started having
You were
lessons
like,
with
"I'll
her.
ride them."
I'll do it. Yeah. So and I
Okay.
ended up doing it for her. Then
How
she'd
old
asked to
were you?
compete. I must have been around 9 years
So
old.
this started very early.
Yeah, and the lady kept telling me, "Come and compete, come and do this." So my parents would drop me off to do this, and then when she say he can compete, it's 4 p.m. My dad would be like, "He has school. Like
Yeah.
it's not possible." And I'd be thinking, "School? I'm like 8 years old. What difference is it going to make? You know?" So, but I couldn't do it.
So
So,
did you ride competitively or
when
no?
younger, not really, like
No.
a little bit, but not so much.
But it stayed with you.
It stayed with me, and actually, when I went to university, I used to write a little bit. And then in between, I started and stopped. Also in Dubai, I was going out all the time, so I thought this will give me some structure, and it will give me space to be by myself and in my kind of own
And
space.
when did you buy your first horse?
Around 2 years ago. So I
So this is relatively new, this full evolution. To the
Yeah.
horse. It works very well for Instagram.
So I was
of course.
riding and I was helping some friends here that I was introduced to, like friends of friends and things. And I was riding their horses. And then I thought like I really would like to do a lot more. And a friend of mine told me that I'd met 3 years ago. She told me, "I'm going to Germany. Come with me and have a look." But I
Where
think
in Germany? I'm going to be very careful now when we say this. but I'm gonna
Bremen.
ask-
Bremen. No, how do I say it?
Not that.
Bremen.
8 out of 10.
So
Bremen.
she told me come then. I said, "Oh, I don't know if I'm going to buy." And she said, "Listen to me. If you come, you'll end up buying." I'm like, "No, who's going to just? I don't know. I'll think about
What
it."
kind of horse is it?
It's a German warm blood Holstein.
Oh.
Did I say that correct?
That was very
Holstein.
good.
That was good. No?
That's like my German side. You just warmed it up. I mean,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
Better than Bremen.
Holstein.
Yeah, Hamburg, Bremen. Okay, we're good.
And actually, that summer, we were starting the collaboration in One and Only. So we were traveling to the resorts. We did the two in Mexico. One and Only Mandarina is insane. You have to see
Is that
it.
right? If I go to these places, can I just throw your name around and then just give me the presidential suite?
Yeah, you can try. You can try. You could. Why don't you just join us?
Because
Join us as the entourage with us in the trip.
absolutely. I told you before. I'll be your PA.
I saw you doing the photo, like the poses. So that's all we need.
Exactly.
You just need to be with us. And
I'm very good at this.
And I just thought, okay, the experience of trying will be great. Who knows if I'm gonna buy something?
You were hooked.
I was already hooked before, and I was the only thing I was concerned about is bringing it to Dubai and then the looking after the day to day.
But now the horse is here.
So that was 2 years ago,
Okay.
and the horse I ended up buying. I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell my friends. I told two of my very, very close friends here, Mir and I told them, and they were like, "Are you sure?" Like, and then one of them just told me,
This
"Samir,
is a
whatever
big
you
com-
live
it's a
once,
big
just do
commitment.
it." Yeah, they just told me, "Just do it." Like, whatever. What you'll figure your way out. So I thought, like, whatever. I'm just gonna do it. So I just ended up doing it at the time. Didn't tell anyone until the horse landed in Dubai. I sent a video to my parents. And my mom said, "Oh, that's a beautiful horse. You're riding this horse." And I said, "Yeah,
You're like,
well,
"No, I own it."
I just bought it." And they were like, "Oh," and they didn't say anything.
What's the name of the horse?
That horse was called Inkolo, and she's still here. I sold her,
Okay.
and actually, to this morning at 3:20 a.m., my other horse arrived. So I have a new horse.
And what's
called
the name of
Zazu.
the new horse?
It's Zazu.
Can we just start giving
I kind
German
of bought
names?
it also for the name, by
But
the
we
way.
need new German names if you're going with German
No,
horses.
Zazu is amazing. Like
Zazu is not a German
Zazu
name.
and
I'm sorry.
Samir. Imagine
We have
like
to
the
call
link.
her Angela or something like
Inkolo
that.
was a bit of a clash, but Zazu and Samir is insane.
Zazu's
though.
cooler.
Zazu's cool.
I have
right?
to say, it's as a name.
And he's cool, by the way. So he landed this morning. So
Zazu.
he's,
I feel like I can
he's
call
here.
a restaurant Zazu.
Yeah, I love it.
Zazu.
Zazu is super cool. No?
Zazu's very cool.
I kind of was sold already when I
Can I
saw
steal
him.
the name?
You
Not
can come
for
and
a
meet
horse.
him. Yes, we'll
But I'll meet
partner.
the
We'll
horse
partner
too.
in something. Let's create something
great.
called in Zazu. No, but he's cool. So the idea is to do a little bit more competing with him and training. But honestly, for the last 3 months since I sold the last one, I feel really not kind of, because I had a really good structure before. I was riding in the morning and then working. It gives me like this
Yeah, of
structure in
course,
life.
of course.
And and jokes aside, like this last 3 months has been a disaster. I've been waking up really late. I've been kind of like, all this
Yeah,
before
yeah,
I was
yeah.
waking up so early, and then in the evenings we had dinners and places. And this is also why I loved it, because all the time I go out and I'm there like I've got to go home now. So I would just leave by 10:30, 11. I'm
No,
going
but
to
look,
bed.
I play tennis at 7 a.m. 4 times a week.
Yeah,
And it's the best hour in my day.
yeah.
It's exactly that.
Same thing.
If I have something at night,
Yeah.
8 out of 10 times I don't go.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want to be up in the morning
Yeah.
and I want to enjoy this hour.
Just those 2 hours in the morning, I love it. The training, the just being in my own space.
I may have to
I'm-
name
I'm-
my tennis racket. Because I don't have a horse. So I'm going to name my tennis
Zazu.
racket.
Name it Zazu.
No, Zazu's going to be the restaurant. But we'll think of something else for tennis racket.
So I need to but those 2 hours is really it's for me, it's the best 2
Yeah,
hours.
of course.
Whether it's hot or not hot, or I'm
Yeah.
tired and whatever, it's amazing. And everything is Montroi. So he only wears neutrals. There's no colors allowed.
Oh, is that right?
So it's beiges, black and white.
You Montroid him.
Yeah, and he has actually I made some items. So I was prototyping, and I made a saddle pad with the Montroi logo, because I'm like,
You're
I
the
can't
new
be seen.
Hermes. You're the new Hermes.
No, so I
love
can't
it.
be I can't be seen in
Finally
logos.
an Indian Hermes.
Yeah, but these logos is also not very me. So I'm like, I don't want to buy all these things with logos all
Yeah,
over.
yeah, I know.
So I started making my own thing, and I made a saddle pad. I'm not going to say where. And I made the saddle pad, and I did a render quickly. And the office is going to kill me, because all the time I'm like, I want this. And they're like, we have so much product development, we can't do this for you. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll just do it by myself. And this is my own project. So I do these renders of these saddle pads, and I put the logo, and then I did quilting, because I was like, it's going to be really nice to have this, Chanel style like quilting and all
something
this.
else.
So I put the quilting, and I wrote on the side, padded or quilting here. And like literally on the thing, so the guys know this is quilting, like quilting here.
Yeah.
You know what they did? They
Yeah.
embroidered quilting
Quilting here
onto
on
the
it.
quilting here onto the pad.
Oh, that's
and then they sent it
fantastic.
to me. So when they sent, and they charged me for it, so I
That's
paid for it, and then I
So
was
now you have
negotiating.
quilting.
So now I'm going to
But
send you a
that's
photo.
almost like
yeah.
what's his name? What's the designer called that kind of writes things out?
Yeah.
Virgil Abloh
Yes,
kind
yes,
of look.
yes, yeah.
That's a whole like fashion thing.
Yeah.
Quilting here.
Yeah. So I have now these saddle pads, which are prototypes essentially, that I said I would test. We're saying quilting. So now you put the saddle on, you have the Montroi logo,
You should
and then you
totally
have the
roll
quilting
this
coming
out.
out.
Like spray here, smell
Yes,
here,
yeah.
quilting here.
I
It's
couldn't
great.
believe it. And then the office sees it, and they say, obviously, look, like this is what happens. And I'm there thinking, and so now when you see the saddle, you see like ting coming out the bottom of the side. Yeah. So that was a bit of a disaster, but everything is neutrals. He can only wear neutrals. He's
So
not allowed
Zazu-
colors. He's not allowed anything.
So Zazu's here. We'll
You have to
start-
come and meet him.
What outfit do I wear for the polo club? Just as important.
Do you have any riding clothes? You can
course
borrow. You
not.
can borrow my. You can borrow mine.
No, and
You
I'm
can-
not wearing right now. Like a hash suitable.
No, I have Montroi.
outfit.
I'll give you a Montroi t-shirt. That's what I wear.
Okay, Montroi
So with
t-shirt
the
I can
logo
wear.
and then neutrals. You can't wear colors.
No,
But
of
that
course I won't.
works. What
If
you're
you've
wearing
ever
now
seen me wear
works.
colors?
No, I'm not
gonna
that
wear-
works. That works. What you're
Okay.
doing now. But
But,
neutrals.
like, do I get like a quilting here on my jeans or something?
I should make it into something.
Totally
I mean,
doing something. It's fantastic.
have you ridden by the way before?
Yes, when I was young, we used to ride by the pyramids.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, a lot of us like we take, and I like had these like boots, and I thought I was very cool. But then like when you don't know how to ride, which I didn't, you come out,
Yeah.
you're screwed. Like for 2-3 days, you're like
Yeah.
legs are
walk.
destroyed.
Yeah. So
But
I
I
have
used-
everything. I have extra boots and stuff for you. I have boots with the logos, my
Oh, I'm
initials.
coming.
Everything is
coming.
personalized. So I have my Montroi logo, my initials on the other side.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
coming. Horse riding.
But
here.
that's actually something that I want to do. I want to, part of the brand or whatever, I want to go into something relating to
no,
question
totally.
as
You're
well.
the new
So
Hermes. I'm telling you, this
Yeah.
is fantastic.
we should partner with the
We
Lighthouse.
should absolutely
Do something,
I would love
something
that.
different.
I would
something
love
different.
that. You know, there's this podcast series called Acquired, and they go these very, very deep dives about different brands. And
Mhm.
Hermes, which is obviously a very Western-centric
Yeah.
brand, frankly,
Yeah.
even though they're very successful,
Yeah.
started actually with
Yeah.
horseback riding, as you
Yes.
know, and,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
So now we'll do the Eastern-centric version of
Of
that.
course. Yeah.
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
will regain your roots finally.
Yeah, and you'll be riding. You and I will be
And I'll
riding,
be
it
riding
into the
quilting
sunset.
here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah.
happy. This is great.
A dream come true.
This is great. Great.
So,
Samir,
yeah.
congratulations on all your success. You have a great heart, and honestly, you've started I think you and Enrique, an amazing business. We've been a small part of it for the last couple of years. It's been great to see you guys grow. I love your passion. I love the quilting here. It's all
No,
really
and thank
great.
you guys so much, because honestly, you say you've been a small part of it, but I think you've been a big part of it. And that's
Thank you.
there's been so many people, and then I could do a whole list of people that helped us along
No,
the
but
way.
you
It's
know,
honestly
it's
incredible.
less. I think it's because, again, you saw this earlier, and I think that's an important point. Brand to brand worked really well. So our client base is not
Yeah.
different than yours.
Yeah.
And for us, it's all about bringing in brands that we feel thrive in our locations.
Yeah.
And Montroi is it's just a natural, right? When you see it there
Yeah.
in those little concept stores, it just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, totally. But there's from our side, we have an amazing team, amazing team,
really do.
and it's really a family of people that honestly they're amazing. The team that we have, and we do so many different things. And I don't know, I think I'm running 1,000,000 miles an hour, but they're amazing. The team,
Yeah, but running
and
a million miles an hour is part of it. And this is maybe for a different podcast, but what I've also observed again from the outside is you've also you've started with something, but you navigate, and if it's not working, you change.
But then you also need people around you that support you in a way, and other people that believe in you in that way as well.
Yes.
And I think that's where
That's
I'm
very
so
true.
grateful. Like I'm so grateful with people, because there's so many people that I can reel off that have helped us in so many different ways, and people don't probably even realize how much they've helped us. In certain
I
things.
buy that.
So that's amazing as well. So let's see. I don't know. I mean, we go day by day, and I'm really. Someone asked me what I'm doing in like 3 weeks or a month. I have no idea. Like I can't plan in advance. And I hate planning so much.
I think that is part of the beauty of this, right? To be a bit in the moment.
Yeah.
To have some vague ideas of where you're heading.
Yeah.
And then let it
Yeah.
unfold.
Yeah, there's always the Emirates here that flies everywhere, so it's perfect.
Exactly.
It's
exactly.
perfect.
God bless
in that
Emirates.
sense, so.
Thank you very
No,
much.
thank you
It's been a
guys.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.